sizzle reel. So we'll just do this right here, guys. I'm going to call his name out. You guys will yell for him. Ready? On the count of three, everybody, please welcome Jason Isaac! Alright guys, we're going to do a group photo. Take out your phones, put your flashlights up. And then wow. Jason, will have you turn around?
I wish I was Jonathan Frakes. He's so cool. Right, here we go.
Alright guys, on the count of three, go nuts. 1, 2, 3!
Wow. Okay, so I'm just still on my own, am I? Okay. Hello everybody. So apparently there was a Baldur's Gate thing yesterday, and there's a Harry Potter thing tomorrow, and I can't talk about White Lotus, so really I'm just going to stand here quietly for 45 minutes. Let's all have a moment of meditation. I wish the lights are up, I see fantastic costumes here. Okay, I've got a theory. See you with the camera there, taking a photograph? Take a photograph. Literally nothing else will be worth taking. Just my man in a crumpled shirt with a cold cup of tea. You can put your phone down now. You've got that picture? There'll be no handsprings. I will not be dropping my pants or anything like that. So just put your cameras down now. You've all got your pictures, right? You got them? Put them down so I can see your lovely faces and eyes. I was here 5 years ago. Anybody here? Was anybody here listening to me 5 years ago? I can tell the same bullshit stories. You can just leave now if you like. I understand that most of you are here probably because I'm in the film about that specky little kid with a scar who deserved to die. But I've been in a bunch of other things too. One of the great things about my strange roller coaster career is that most of the giant failures I've been in have turned out to be huge successes in the convention world. Who knew? Who knew that years later people will want to talk about Event Horizon, which took 73 cents at the box office, and some of that was fake. And other films that did nothing at all, but Peter Pan, for instance, which... This is not me pathetically trying to get as many rounds of applause as possible, but although I'll take it. But anyway, I'm happy to talk and answer questions about any of those things, because this is... What you need to know is that if I wasn't up here and I didn't do the job that I do, I would be down there. I was always a comic book fan, I was always a story fan, I was always a fantasy fan, and thanks for that. No. Listen, if I get a round of applause, I want a proper one. I don't want that. That was pathetic. 4 people that sound like a bunch of seals. No. So please ask me about anything at all. I'll try and answer questions that are useful. I see quite a lot of young people here who probably come because I'm in those films, but I have a slightly nervous tick that I tend to swear a lot when I'm in public. So just so you know, I'm playing a character now called Jason Isaacs, who is really not to be admired in any way. Because I've no doubt that all kinds of F-bombs will come out in a minute, because I think it's funny, and because despite what your parents tell you, it is actually clever and grown up. So I apologize in advance for parents having to apologize to their kids. So, I'll talk about anything and everything. I'll take as many questions as possible. But there's some questions I always get asked, so I might as well ask it myself now. Talk to myself, and then you can ask more interesting ones than that. One thing I get asked is, do I like playing bad guys? That's maybe the most common question I get asked, because I was Peter Pan, because I was Dick Dastardly in Scoob, because I was, I was a bad guy in various things. Colonel Tavington and the Patriot, for instance, stuff like that. This is diminishing returns. If I keep going through the bad guys until films that nobody saw. I was the bad guy in Soldier. Yeah. Don't pretend you haven't seen it. That's all right. The Grand Inquisitor. Here we go. Anyway, the point is, I've been in about, I think, someone look it up on IMDb, something like 270 things. I've played about 40 bad guys, proportionally. If you're an actor and you're lucky, first of all, you get to play lots of soldiers and policemen and stuff, and drug dealers, and priests for some reason. And then, well, if you're lucky, the best part in most films is the bad guy, and I've been lucky and I played a few. I played lots of heroes too. Really, if you spend the whole day and everybody's nice to you and opens the door and is polite, and one person comes up and pokes you in the eye with a toothpick, it's that person you're thinking about when you go to sleep. So that's why I think those characters last. But mostly, I think they linger in your head and they upset us and they bother us, because we've all met, we've all met people like that. We've all had people like that in our lives. We've all been bullied. Some of us have occasionally been a bully and then been ashamed of it. We recognize that as a human trait. So when you ask me, do I like playing bad guys? The truth is, I'm an actor, and in the 40 years I've been doing it, there have been, I don't know, maybe 20 times I get showered with praise, or I get nominations, or even occasionally get very obscure awards, not the big ones, but that's okay. And it's always been when on a job when I knew, when I opened the envelope and I read the script, this is really well written. This is a really recognizable human being, and so people are going to hate him. So in Harry Potter, for instance, you know, it's a magical world. It's full of fantasy and, you know, wizards and witches and brooms. But what is he? He's a guy that doesn't believe that different races should mix blood. That's a Nazi. That's a racist. That's someone I've heard tell that there has occasionally been one or two in this country, in my country, certainly. And he's a guy that thinks the world was better when people like him ruled, and he can't allow other different types of people to be in the world, to have any power. He's trying to make Hogwarts great again, and that is the thing. No, I wasn't drawing the parallel just because he has ludicrous blonde hair. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I recognize him. I recognize someone like that. And why is he a bully? And why does he hate people different from him? Because he's frightened. Because actually, he's insecure and he thinks that he can't cope. He thinks that his day is gone and he wants to turn the clock back. And that's something we see, and that's why you recognize. And that's why he's so annoying. And he's such a cowardly bully that he even will sacrifice his wife and his child for it. When it comes to a choice, he cares more about his own reputation and image than he does about making his son feel good. And I felt when I took that job, when I read it, it was clearly these were brilliant books, it was a brilliant script. My job was to make the audience understand why Draco is such a little shit. Sorry, it started, oh no. And why is he so horrible at school to Harry? Because he's got this dad at home who doesn't know how to love him, because his dad was never loved, because it goes back generations and centuries. And it's the great beauty of all the Harry Potter stories is how you break the chain. A lot of people think that Harry's the hero of the story. I don't. I think Draco is the hero of the story. Genuinely. Because he was brought up to be selfish and to bully, and he's brought up to be heartless and to try and take power. And what does he do right at the end? He doesn't identify Harry's body. He throws in the wand. Now that's against his nature to do that. Harry, you always know Harry's going to do the right thing. He's an irritating little do-gooder, let's be honest. But Draco does the right thing and you don't expect it of him. That's why he's the hero. And so that's when people ask me about playing bad guys, I don't play bad guy. The guy in the Patriot, who, oh well, you may not want to invite him over for Thanksgiving, I grant you, but he's trying to win the war. And he's trying to win the war because he's the second son of a very rich aristocratic family in England, which means he gets nothing. When his father dies, he gets nothing, the oldest son gets it all. And in my research, I found out that the army was full of these posh, rich English boys who were second and third children, or whose parents had lost all gambling. And they came, and this was their only hope to maintain their status. And the only way you can do very well in a war like that, at that scale, is when you see your enemy as not human. And I've met a number of I've been honored to meet a number of service people in the room today, and I thank you for your service. I've met many soldiers in my life. And I was in a film called Black Hawk Down a while ago, and I honored to train with the Rangers in Fort Benning and meet a lot of the men who survived and their families of the people who didn't. And what some of them told me is that when it started, just to survive, they had to do what they had to do. They had to shoot anything that came anywhere near them and deal with the trauma and the nightmares later. And what happens in war, as the people who are in the room who've been there will tell you, is that you need not to see this other person as someone with a family or something. That's not what happens in theatre in the moment. So this guy, Tavington, has taken that on board. The enemy are just people that need to go. And he doesn't see them as human. And that's something we see around us. It's something, you have an election coming up, we have one recently, they're all over Europe. It's something you hear increasingly with politicians who are desperate for a vote. They try and make you think that other people, some other category of people, whether it's Mexicans, or whether it's women, or trans people, whether it's black people, whether it's Jewish people, whatever it is, try and make you think they're not like you. They're not like you, and so they don't deserve the same consideration or human rights as you. They should be locked up, or they can be killed, or things can be done to them that you would never consider doing to you. That's what Tavington was like. Tavington was a guy that didn't see the enemy as human, and he wanted to win the war as fast as he could. And that's why I think we recognized him. And that's why he's lasted. It's also because it's on every single July 4th. And for some reason, a lot of people think that it's a documentary. I don't know why. They come up to me at the testing, I gotta tell you, man, I loved you in the Patriot. And my 5th grade history teacher showed us the movie. And I go, and then told you it was bullshit. And they went, what? No, we watch it every year. Well, I can tell you right now, Harry Potter is more historically accurate than the Patriot. Just so you know. I mean, you can ask Mel when he comes up here, or he might have a different story, I don't know. But it's not. So that's one of the truth is I don't blame bad guys, I try and blame people I recognize. And none of these people, whether it's the guy in the Patriot, or whether it's the Inquisitor, and none of them think they're doing, thank you for that one cheer, thank you. I'll throw you a fish next time I bring a bucket. None of the people I play who are what you call bad guys think they're doing the wrong thing. And that's one of the reasons I became an actor, is trying to understand why people behave the way they do. Some of it was inexplicable to me. I just could not see why the things I was seeing in the news or growing up, or even in my own crazy family, why would people behave the way they do? And as an actor, walking in other people's shoes, one of the keys to understanding any of the crazy shit that goes on in the world or in your life is that everybody thinks they're right. So you have to understand why they think they're right if you're going to try and combat it. So, don't ask me that question, is the short version. Let's not talk about the lovely people who've died. I was in Harry Potter, there were 3,000 people in the cast and crew. Many of the crew are not with us anymore. We lost fabulous Dame Maggie Smith this morning. It's a terrible tragedy, but she had a wonderful full life. She enjoyed doing Harry Potter. God knows she was wickedly funny. Stories of which even I can't repeat in front of the children. But she had a great and full life and was a brilliant actress. So let's not, and the other thing is, don't ask me about people. Sometimes they go, what was Daniel like? Or what's Tom like? And the answer for all of them is wonderful and brilliant and fabulous. But occasionally there's a person I'm not telling you the truth about. Because I'm not really going to tell you about the person who stayed in the hotel room all the time with food and people he ordered from the internet. I'm not going to tell you about the people who, spent their entire salary on substances that are still illegal. Because that's not my job. Luckily, there were none of them on Harry Potter. They were all delightful and fabulous and gorgeous. And yes, Tom Felton and I are still friends, and I called him, and it was his birthday. I hope you all posted something to his birthday the other day. But I speak to him privately, so I'm not going to go, here's what we said on the phone the other day. It's not really appropriate to share the room full of people. So I could open up to questions. I could tell you, I don't know, more. What do people ask apart from that? Why am I an actor? How about that? No one asked me that, so I'll tell you anyway. I went to university and I didn't really fit in. I never really fit in anywhere. I know what I'll talk about for 2 minutes, then I'll open up to you. People come up to the table here, or I go to conventions quite a lot when I'm not working because I love it. And I love it because I meet you and I talk to you, and the reason I like to come, it's not, it's true I come and I get a little bit of money and go away, but luckily I get lots of acting work, I could do that elsewhere. I come because I see people come up to the table and giving me lots of status. They come up to the table and I can see that they think I am something special or bigger or better or something because I've been on TV. And it's a weird thing because A, I have no skills, most of you do a real job and I just pretend to do jobs. But secondly, I'm just some idiot who wears makeup and puts on funny voices. Like it so happens, that's what I fell into for a job. It's really not that worthwhile, and I do it selfishly for me, and I do it because I don't really understand people. I keep trying to understand people, and I started doing it because I was really uncomfortable in my own skin. I didn't quite know who to be when I met people and how to be with them. And I hope that by the end of talking to me for a minute, you think, that guy's just a fucking idiot. He's just, what a schlub. And it's true, I am, and I do this job that I started doing when I was a student because I was so uncomfortable when I got to college, and all these people from worlds I'd never met before, they seemed so easy being themselves, and I was drunk because that's what people uncomfortable do. They often drink or take drugs to feel more comfortable. I was drinking. I know I'm in Utah, I probably shouldn't say that, a thunderbolt will hit me, but nonetheless. I was drunk and I walked past the sign and it said, can you do a northern accent, auditions? So I'm from a place called Liverpool, which is in the north of England. I didn't talk like this when I was born to talk like that. If you listen to a proper Liverpool accent, it's not what the Beatles sound like. The Beatles tried to sound American, they talk like that. But I spoke like that when I was a kid, and I came to London and everybody took the piss out of me. And that means making fun of me. And so I immediately went thick. I sounded like Jason Statham for a few years. And then I went to university and they all sounded like Hugh Grant. I'm like, oh Christ. And I had to change my voice again and be someone else. And when I got to this, it was a sign saying, can you do a northern accent? I thought, that's one thing I can do authentically. And I went in a room and I read something out and I was completely uninhibited because of Dutch courage, as they call it, from the alcohol. And they cast me in a play, which is a terrible mistake on their part, but changed my life. Because suddenly I was in a rehearsal room and I got to talk about the really important things that most people never talk about. What makes us nervous, what makes us happy, what makes us violent, what makes us jealous, what makes us all the building blocks of all the weird stuff we do as human beings with each other. And I'm still doing it 40 years later. The most exciting bit of any acting job is trying to work out who this person is with the other people, what's going on between these people now. It's not, I'm not an actor to sign autographs, I'm not an actor to go on red carpets, I'm not an actor so I can get given out free backpacks to the actors. That's very kind of them, that's not why I did it. I did it because I still don't understand why some people behave the way they do. And I'd like to understand how other people are in their own skin. So there we go, that's my therapy session over with. So please don't ever put anyone on a pedestal above yourself or think they take up more important air in the world. I would like often to be invisible. I feel less than almost everybody I ever meet, certainly if you do a real job. I don't think I could do a real job. I don't know what a real job is. So that's why I'm here. And I'm here to answer any questions you like. So let's have a question. Yes, it is just tea.
Hi, my name is Brittany, and my question is, how did you approach Mr. Darling and Captain Hook in Peter Pan?
Wow, thank you. That's a great question because I love talking about Peter Pan. People come up to the table quite often dressed in Harry Potter gear and they look over their shoulder like it's a guilty secret. They go, actually, Peter Pan's my favorite movie. Can I have a picture of Captain Hook? Like somehow they're asking to score crack or something. And the reason so many women, are you filming me? Put that down right now. Oh yeah, I couldn't tell the way it's played. That looks natural, the way you're holding that camera. That's right, thank you. So the reason so many people, I think, love that movie, and it was such a gigantic flop when it came out, it's been such a huge success since, is because all these men who make movies get obsessed with Peter Pan. They'd like to climb trees and jump around. It's a story about Wendy. It's a story about a 12-year-old girl who's told, your childhood's over, and it's time to be a woman now, you need to have a family. And she goes, I'm 12. I share a bedroom with my brothers, we play pirates. And in those days, being a woman meant you need to be ready right now to have a husband. There was no adolescence, they didn't have any malls to hang around for 5 years. It was like straight in. And she's terrified, so she dreams up a world in which there's a kid with baby teeth who wants to play games all the time, but actually she's a little bit bored of him because she is right on the edge of adolescence. And so there's a man and she's strangely attracted to him, but she's also repulsed by him because he looks like, guess who? The only man she's ever met in her life, her dad. Which is a really complicated Freudian story. I have 2 girls, 2 daughters, and I remember so vividly those years when they weren't women, but they weren't girls, and how the world wanted to look at them as women. I remember being on the beach in Portugal in their little string bikinis, and I wanted so begging them to wear Victorian bathing suits. But anyway, they're 14, and all these Portuguese men looking at them, and I just wanted a machine gun to go, she's 14! You know? But it's a story about how hard it is to be a little girl, but also to be ready to be a woman, and how difficult it is in the world. And that, I think, is the key to Peter Pan. And so the key to being Mr. Darling was to be an ineffectual father, and then the opposite, to be a rapacious alpha male in the world that she dreams up. The father, in some ways, she wished she had, but she's also, when she's exposed to him for a while, she wants her real dad back. And I love that film, so thank you for asking. I went to see Taylor Swift recently, and she used the whole stage. I was very impressed. I'm not using the whole stage. But anyway, there we are. That's not the only difference between me and Taylor Swift. Anyway, carry on.
Hi.
What do I do with this now?
My name's Donna. It's lovely to meet you.
That's not what I should have done. Don't do that, kids. Yeah. Sorry.
And
She's got a hook on, by the way, so you should see.
Yes, I came prepared. My question is actually about, I know you've done a lot of voice work and also audiobooks. You've done a few. And did you like the process? Would you do more in the future?
Thanks very much. Yeah, I do loads of voice work, and I love it when people come to the table and go, I didn't know you were the voice of Zhao. And I was, oh, that just wasn't a cheap, but anyway. And I never quite know what to say. I want to go, yeah, neither did I. It's so weird. I do loads of voice work. I do loads of DC movies, a few animated movies, and I love it because you get out of bed late. Doesn't matter if you've got a spot. You can wear dirty clothes, can eat all the chocolate in the studio, and you also get to play things you don't look like, which is what I love. I really very much don't look like Gortash, which was a huge disappointment. Exactly, what a huge disappointment it is that he should look like that and actually be me. But so I love audio work, and also I love reading audiobooks, because I don't read very many books since the internet came along and I have scripts to read all the time, and it forces me to read a book. But I very often sight read them, and I get there, and I love that there's different characters, and I, come up with a different voice. This guy's Scottish, this guy's from Texas, and then, 5 chapters in, he goes, he whispered in his Mississippi tones. You're like, oh shit. So I stopped doing audiobooks for years when I went to read a Chinese thriller written by the English ambassador to Beijing. And I went and I sight read it, and I did my, hoping it didn't sound too racist, but there were various Chinese characters speaking English. And when I got like 10 characters in, the producer went, hey, that guy sounds a lot like the old guy from the market. And I go, I don't have a giant encyclopedic bunch of Chinese accents to offer you. And he goes, a lot of these guys are really sounding the same as each other. And I'm like, yes, they're going to continue that way for the next 400 pages. But I do love doing this, because also you see their passion. So when I was in Cars 2 a bit, but I met, it's a tiny part, but they took me through all the storyboards, took me to Pixar, and we improvised a ton of stuff, and you get to improvise a bunch of stuff, and then they animate to your voice, which I love. So, thank you. Hi.
Hi. My name is Emma, and my question is, do you have any embarrassing stories from the filming of Harry Potter and the OA, and if so, what are they?
Do I want to, thank you Emma, do I want to tell you embarrassing stories about myself? Let me think about that one a second. No, because by definition they're embarrassing stories. I'll tell you about the OA, which is amazing. Not many people have seen it. It's a fantastic TV series on Netflix. I don't say that to blow my own trumpet because I'm not a big part in it. Emma, how old are you? You haven't seen the OA, have you? That's just, someone call child services right now. She's 13, she's seen the OA. Oh my God. Well, enjoy therapy. The thing about the OA, which is amazing, is that I wasn't cast in it. They cast someone else for the first, and they shot with him for the first week, and then they decided it wasn't really working. And so they called the head of Netflix and they said, can we cast someone else as Hap? And they went, you went to town, you battled us. We didn't want you to cast the guy you cast. We said he doesn't, he's a wonderful actor, but he doesn't speak great English. And his agent went, oh yeah, he speaks English perfectly, which he doesn't. And so they phoned and said, can we change it? And they went, well, you're shooting tomorrow at Central Station in New York. It's the most expensive budget day in the entire series. Once you shot that, you're definitely not changing this. Well, we'll get someone tonight. And they went, who? And Zal and Britt, who wrote it, went, we'll find someone. And they called me, who I didn't know them. They'd seen me in a short film years ago, at like midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd read the scripts. I said, I want to do it. And they said, okay, great, we'd love you to do it. Can you get on a plane? I go, when? They go, now. And I went, my kids came down to breakfast, and Daddy, why are you packed? And I said, I'm going away for a couple of months, I'm sorry, I'll come home in the middle and see you. And I went to New York, I went almost straight to Grand Central Station, and I shot the first scene. I'm so aware this means nothing to 80% of you, but the ones, people who've seen it, I went to do the first scene with the character I meet, in the first scene where I meet her, and I got there and I said, listen, I'm so sorry guys, do you think that this guy would, and I asked a question about the character, and the director, who's maybe the best director I've ever worked with, one of them said to me, I don't know man, you know the character better than me already, you take it. Which was such a gift, such a wonderful thing to do, and as any nascent directors in here, you empower the actors, so that was one. I'll tell you an embarrassing story about Peter Pan. I got to, this one I remember and I think it's okay for public consumption. I went to, no, I've got 2 actually, okay. I went to Peter Pan and I arrived a month before. We needed to do sword fighting and flying and all that stuff. And they had Australia's fencing champion there. And he had me and he had Jeremy who played Peter there. And he said, okay, you guys done any, no, he's Australian. He didn't speak an American accent at all. He said, right, have you guys, anybody done any sword fighting before? And I said, yeah, I've done a little bit, yeah. He said, oh right, what kind of swords? I said, I've done sabres, I've done, I've done broadswords. I was in a film called Patriot, I don't know if you saw it. He said, no, yeah, I saw that, yeah. And I said, and I've done another film called St. Ives, is sword fighting. Oh yeah, right. I said, I did an episode of Highlander, it's all sword fighting. Oh right, great. With your left hand? And I went, sorry? He said, with your left hand? Because Hook's got a hook on his right hand, his left hand. And I went, oh, bloody hell. So I had to learn to sword fight with my left hand. But they also put me in this, like a gyroscope on a crane so you could fly up in the air and spin around and stuff like that. And they do it, they make it tight around. It was very, very tight, and it hurt, it pinched. And, I'm a gentleman, and it pinched in ways I wasn't comfortable with. And so I just loosened it a bit, and they went, well, it's got to be very tight. I went, I know, but this is stopping the blood. And they went, okay, and I went up, and it turned upside down, and I very, 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 very slowly fell out, leaving my trousers and my underpants behind. Till I was hanging there by my knees, and had to call for help. And it wasn't a great moment. But the embarrassing story about Harry Potter, I do remember this. All the kids, as you can tell, I have the mind of a 13-year-old, but the body of a 103-year-old. So I was on the film, and when they played practical jokes with each other, I did too. It was entirely inappropriate, and still would be. But they, for a while, everyone had Nokia phones and Sony Ericsson phones, and they would change the language on the phone. So you pick up your phone and you go, it's in Dutch, and then you change it back. So I took Daniel's phone one day when he was filming, and I changed it to Korean. It's fine. I remembered how to get it back. It was number 2 in the menu, then number 5 in the menu, then number 3 in the menu, got to the language. Except it wasn't in Korean. That wasn't the way to get it back to English. So it got a laugh for about 10 seconds, and then 8 hours on the phone to the head of Sony Ericsson, trying to change it back to the thing. That's embarrassing. Thank you.
Lucy, and
Questions are getting younger and younger. It's going to end with a baby.
I'm Emma's sister, and I wanted to know if you could go back in time and change one embarrassing or stupid mistake that you did.
You just want me to be up here humiliating myself. Is this the plan? Did my wife call her in? I've got 2 daughters. One's called Ruby, and Ruby used to say, well, at night I'd read her stories. She'd go, Dad, will you tell me a story from your life? Just tell me a story from your life. So I tell her a story from my life, and then we cuddle until she went to sleep, and I tell her, and then after, I don't know, a few weeks, a few months, whatever, she said to me, Dad, why are you such a loser in all your stories? I said, well, they're the only good stories, aren't they? She goes, yeah, I mean, no, yeah, but no. And I said, well, first of all, what kind of person tells stories in which they come out triumphant? And secondly, I can't think of any like that. I've only got stories in which I'm an embarrassing loser. No, I'm just refusing, point blank, to embarrass myself any further and tell you how I have humiliated myself in public. But thank you for asking.
My dad actually just finished showing me and my sister the OA TV series.
Oh, yeah.
And I was wondering, if you could write a 3rd season for the show, what would you do?
Well, so I won't spend too much time on the OA because people haven't seen it, but the OA was 5 seasons that they had mapped out completely, and we did the 1st season, then we did the 2nd season. When they sent me the script for the 2nd season, those people who've watched it will know the end has the most ridiculous scene I've ever seen on television in all of history. And I phoned up the writer, Britt, the lead actress, writes it with the director called Zal. I phoned up Zal and I went, what are you thinking? Have you had an aneurysm? Why would you write this? There's this phrase, jumping the shark. Jumping the shark means, once you've done that, you can never go back, you've ruined it. I went, you've jumped the shark. And he went, come to my house. And I went, and I sat down with him, and he told me what their plan was for the 3rd season, and I went, I'm not worthy, I'm so sorry, you're a genius. That's genius. And so it wasn't, I wouldn't dream of even beginning to try and think what should happen next, because they have all 5 seasons. We might get to make it one day, because the way we left season 2, we could go back to it any time, because they could have been in another dimension for years. So I have no idea what would happen. But in another reality, Netflix wouldn't have cancelled it, I'll tell you that. There we go. Thanks. Hello, young man.
Hello. A few years ago, you were in a movie called Mass, which not a lot of people saw, but I thought was brilliant, and you were incredible. It was really emotionally moving, and I can only imagine that was a really hard role to prepare for, and so I wonder, what was the experience of that like?
Well, thank you for asking, but I suspect very few people have seen it. Hands up who's seen Mass. Okay, all 8 of you. It's maybe the most beautiful film I've ever been in. It's just 4 people sitting in a room, sitting in a church hall. 2 sets of parents. One parent's lost their kid in a school shooting, and it's 7 years afterwards. They've not been able to move on. They're unable to progress with their lives. And the other 2 are the parents of the shooter. And it's based on real meetings that happen, and it's a beautiful story about the power of forgiveness. In many ways, it's a very religious story, but without any religion or God in it. It's a spiritual story about how carrying hatred will only poison yourself. It's like, you know, so it's a very uplifting story in the end, I think, but very emotional. And I spoke to parents who lost their kids in school shootings, but also I'm a sober person, means I'm not Mormon, but I don't drink. One of the things that I had to go through to get to where I am today, and it's actually my 26th sober birthday on Thursday. And one of the things I had to go through was to learn to forgive other people, because carrying resentments against people is just toxic for yourself, and learn to forgive myself for things that I'd done and said in the past. So that's what the film was about, and I felt like I'd had ample preparation for that. But also, there's only 4 actors in it, and the other 3 are 3 of the most brilliant actors I've ever seen in my life. And when you're acting is easy if the other person seems to be the person they're meant to be in the story. And they were all Oscar-worthy performances. They were just genius. And so when it's all going well, everyone knows this. Whenever there's something you do well, when you're in flow, you don't even think about it. And we were in flow. Sometimes the ley lines meet, and something just works. And the writing and directing of those 4 actors, there's 3 actors and me in a room for those 2 weeks that we shot it, was the most extraordinary experience of my working life, and I think it probably will remain that way till the day I die. So if you get a chance to look it up, I think it's on Hulu. I think it might be on Hulu. Have a watch and take a packet of tissues with you. So, thanks. Slightly confused. Hook on one hand, big pair of cat ears. Don't know what's going on. Hello.
Hello. I would like to know, where was your favorite place to hang out in the town or city that you grew up in?
Oh, I grew up in Liverpool, and weirdly, and appropriately for this gathering, I was a very keen amateur magician. I told you I was shy, I was a bit awkward, other people seemed to have happier families than me, just be more comfortable, and so I developed all those hobbies that you can be good at, that you can practice by yourself, and you think will win you friends and girls, and do the very opposite. So I became good at magic. And my favourite place in Liverpool when I was growing up was a magic shop called the Wizard's Den. Who knew? There you go. Thank you. Hi.
Hello. So, first of all, I'm kind of flustered right now. But with all the...
Do you know most people's biggest fear in life is public speaking? They're more scared of public speaking than death. They would rather be in the box at a funeral than giving the oration. Really. So you join most of the human race.
Well, with every franchise you have under your belt so far, Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, DC, Avatar...
No Marvel. Crushingly.
In one where you played Mephisto, or voiced Mephisto.
Maybe I did, I've forgotten. I forget a lot of voice work. There's a lot of voice work I've forgotten about, sorry. Sorry, Marvel. Sorry.
I just want to know, are there any other major franchises that you want to have your foot in the door in?
I mean, this whole thing about franchise, it's a weird word, franchise, isn't it? I think hamburgers and coffee, the franchise. Like, you're in the Harry Potter franchise. I'm like, I'm not selling lunchboxes and telling stories, you know? So, no, I just like being are you filming me now? Put that down. I'm talking to you and suddenly... so, I just like telling stories, good stories. It's not like they go, hey, come and be in this movie and we'll give you 20% stock in Apple. You know, I'm just doing the thing. So, I don't know what a franchise is. I just like to be in good stories. I mean, I love being in Star Trek, for instance. I love being Captain Lorca. It was a genius. For those of you who didn't watch the first season of Star Trek Discovery, fingers in your ears. I knew it was only going to be 1 season. I was very happy with it. If they find someone for Prime Lorca to come back, I get to work with Jonathan or any of my other friends, that'd be great. But I'm just about trying to tell good stories that are well written. Luckily I'm not starving, so I don't really work for money. I mean, I get paid, thank God. I'm not an idiot, but I just try and find good things to do. Thanks.
Hello, Jason. Welcome back, and thank you very much for coming again. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
My question...
I waited long enough for people to forget they met me. That was the idea.
Okay. Well, yeah, anyway, it's an honor and a pleasure to meet you. My question is, well, my mother and I saw a pretty nice show. It was kind of a chick flick. It was called
Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. I knew this.
The Irishman, what was that experience like?
Well, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris shot during the pandemic. And we've been locked down for ages in England, and I don't know who else had terrible experiences. I'm sure many people had awful experiences, worse than mine. But my father and 2 of my 3 brothers were in hospital and looking like they weren't going to make it one night, very early on in March 2020. They did, thank God, all make it, and they're all back in rude health. But I took it more seriously than people around me because I knew other people who died, and so I was appropriately cautious. I was going to say terrified. I wasn't paranoid, I was taking sensible steps. And then someone said, come and be in this movie. The vaccines weren't out, so people, there were still people dying in giant numbers. And my friend who was directing it said, come to Budapest and we're making a movie. And I went, we'll make a movie? How I could be in a room with other people who aren't my children? Are you crazy? He said, no, the protocols are got to be safe and stuff. And I wasn't going to do it. And then another person I knew offered me, said, come and do sex education. And I went, no, dude, I don't want to work. That's very kind of you. Was that a cough or was that somebody had a sea lion in here? But I went to do 2 days on sex education. And I drove myself there. Everybody was wearing N95 masks. They opened the windows, this thing, and I thought, you know what? This is safer than my house, because I know my kids are sneaking out. So then I thought, oh, could I do a whole movie? And then another guy who I know said, we'll come and do a day on The Great. It was a wonderful series, The Great. And I said, I don't know, I'm nervous about protocol and COVID. He went, it's outdoors in a forest at night, you're in a grave. No one will go anywhere near you. And I went, all right, I'll do that. And then I felt confident, so I went to Budapest to make Mrs. Harris. And they weren't just on lockdown in Hungary, they had a curfew at 8 o'clock. But for some bizarre reason that I cannot understand to this day, actors and filmmakers were given essential worker status. For some reason, I had a pass, I could strut around the streets, Hungarian police come up and I go, no thank you, I am an actor. Please, sir, continue. So I went and we made this film. It's a very light, fluffy film, isn't it? It's a very sweet, light, and I remember making it thinking, wow, who's gonna watch this? I mean, it's just so, it's like, what is that word? Moose. It's like, it's all air, And then it came out, it was exactly what people needed after the pandemic. And it's so huge, it just came out 2 years ago. I just went to a screening of it the other night, which was packed. People going, this just makes me feel happy. And there aren't many people making films that make people feel happy and good. And it's a film about a working class woman who has no education but is smarter than all the rich people around her, which is another great story. So I loved doing that film. And contrary to being a villain, I'm a very charming, lovely rogue. And you think, because it's me on screen, you're like, someone's gonna die anyway. It's not, someone's gonna dance. So that's why I love that film. Thank you. Hi guys. Am I seeing double? I am seeing double, aren't I? Good.
Yes, we're identical twins. I'm Jessie. And I'm Morgan.
Hi, Jessie Morgan.
You mentioned previously Captain Lorca is one of our favorite characters.
You have his jacket on.
I do, I have his jacket on, and the cruise shirt. I'm curious, if they existed in real life, which would you personally prefer? To live in the Wizarding World or the Star Trek universe?
Wow, what a great question. Well, it depends what powers I had. It depends how powerful I was. I mean, the Wizarding World is on the, there is a massive rise of the right, and it depends on which stage of the story. I'm not a big fan of supremacists, be they white or muggles or wizarding, Yeah, so when the bad guy, when the Death Eaters have gone, I think the Wizarding World might be a magical world. And Star Trek is full of unknown and dangerous things. But I kind of I like a bit of adventure. I've been to Utah before, I've jumped off the mountains, I've whitewater rafted here, I've climbed. I like a bit of a thrill. So I think it might be a bit boring in the Wizarding World without the bad guys around to fight. But looking at your jacket reminds me of one of the embarrassing stories I could have told. So everyone remembers next year. So Patrick Stewart had that thing of pulling his jacket down all the time. That was the signature move he had as Jean-Luc Picard, was getting up and pulling his jacket down. Because when you move around, it was riding up all the time. So that's what he had to do. They didn't want me to do that, or any of us to do that. So the jacket was zipped to the pants down there, so they couldn't ride up. But it also meant if you ever gestured, you gave yourself a front wedgie. That happened for the first couple of episodes, and they're like, we're seeing this is much more explicit than it's meant to be for a family show. Then we had to start wearing dancers' boxers and getting front wedges, and the whole thing was very embarrassing. Anyway, that's right. Thank you for that question. Oh, I see 4 minutes and 6 seconds left, sorry. Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
I'll speak very quickly, and then you can slow down the tape later and watch it. Yes, what is it?
In the Patriot, did you do all your horseback riding?
Yeah, I did. In the Patriot, I did do all my horseback riding, and obviously when they asked, I grew up with horses on a farm, and so horses like second nature to me, is what I told them. I didn't know which end I was meant to get on, of course, when we got there. And I don't know if Mel's doing a panel or not, but they sent me to riding school in London, but it wasn't a movie riding school. It was actually a place where they trained people to do medieval Renaissance fairs. And so, because they were doing jousting and stuff. And they put me on, I was trying to get that English trot, which is a rising trot. And you rise and I couldn't get it, so they took the saddle off. When they took the saddle off, it was going... And I didn't get the rhythm, and someone said, listen, I think he's riding in America, they've got those big saddles anyway. I'm like, yeah, can we stop, please, can we stop? So when we shot in the Patriot, they leave in all the sequences where I look like I can ride, and the bits where I was hanging by the stirrups and being dragged across the field, they've very smartly edited out. There was one bit, they were going to shoot the whole thing as one coordinated thing, one of the big battles, where I ride in and they fight each other, they fall down, I ride in, we cut them up, and then the cannons go and stuff. And I was back there with my dragoons. Thank God they were all reenactors with their own horses who could really ride. And they printed this out to show it to the crew in slow motion. Because it was shot in slow motion. You see me coming in going, charge! On this on my horse. And the wrong instruction got sent in the walkie-talkie, and all the front row let loose with their musket fire. And I'm going, charge! The horse is going, no! And I'm digging his heels in, and I go, oh! And I come off the horse. I flip once or twice in the air. I've got the real sword in my hand, because you're not meant to be doing it in fighting, which is a dangerous and sharp sword. It goes flying through the air, I'm through the air, it bounces, I bounce. Luckily all the riders behind go, and screech to a hole inches from me. And even in slow motion, you can see the stunt guys going, are you okay? I was so embarrassed in front of, this meant like thousands of people, that even in slow motion I go, I'm fine, let's go again, it's fine. After which they decided to only shoot the battles in pieces that they could control. So no, I'm not a very good rider. What happens if I keep talking? Just someone with a big hook pulls me off. Or maybe there's a trap door opens, yeah. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Have you ever been to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal?
I have been to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal, both in Florida and in California. And I went once, but it might have to be the last story. And we went down to Florida when there were, I don't know, there was some new version of the box sets coming out made in platinum, or, you have it tattooed or something. There's various different versions of the box sets. But we all went down there, we signed autographs for hours and hours all day. I think Bonnie was there, you can ask her, hours and hours. And at the end of the day, which has been there in the baking sun, signing people. In fact, one lady, cover your children's ears. I remember one lady, with the families who had come from all over America there, said, hey, will you sign my breasts? And I went, lady, please, there's children around. She goes, I have 8 children. And I went, well, what were they saying? They all went, sign them! But anyway, at the end of the day, they all went, and we wanted to go on one of the rides. And they had, at the time, they had the 2 intertwining roller coasters. I think they shut them down a day, right? Thank you very much. And they had repurposed them. They weren't there before, but they called them, I don't know, whatever the hell they were called, dragon rides. So we went up and said, hey, any chance we can have a ride on this thing? Because we've been here all day signing them. And some spotty youth with his hat on sideways would be rapping and goes, dude, I've been here all day myself, all right? So like, can we just go home? It's been a long day. And I went, please, can you look? And he went, look, could you... And he got his walking, he went, hey, can I switch the ride on again? No, because I have like all the Malfoys here, and the Weasleys. No, I mean the actual Malfoys and the actual Weasleys here. What? Okay, I can switch it on, but I can't put the lights on. And we went, okay, great. Easily the 10 most terrifying moments of my life. I wish I had never done it. All of us going, no, stop it, stop it, stop it. That was my best recollection of going there. I don't know if I'm allowed to have, who are the authorities in this world? Is there an authority or we're just designing ourselves? Oh, you're signing down there. Good for you. I should sign a lot quicker and just say something really obscene and see what the gesture is. It says not, but I'm going to take the question until they come and drag me off the stage. But,
sure. A few years ago, you were in a show called Awake that I really liked. Gone too soon on that one. And so my question is, were you leaning to one reality versus the other as ending up?
No, I wasn't, because it was shows designed to go on forever that you couldn't decide. If one of them became true, then the show would be over. Little did we know we'd be cancelled anyway, so we couldn't have chosen. There we go. I think I better get off, but anyway, it's lovely to meet you all, and never be intimidated by actors. We don't have any real skills.
Please, everybody, give a huge round of applause here for Jason Isaac.